Oh, thank you, Susan.
Good morning, my name is Susan Say, and today we're joined by Jenny Mackay. We're both Digital Skills Development Officers with Education Scotland. This webinar we'll be looking at managing your team site and setting up a team site within Glow. So a team site is a digital hub for classroom collaboration, and it can also be used as a professional learning community. So some schools would use them within a faculty to be collaborating and sharing resources and content. You could use them across your school. You can use them across your local authority to collaborate with colleagues, and of course you can use them across Scotland with any other educator that has a Glow account. You can also use them with digital groups, so it could be, for example, a fair trade group or a digital leader group, or possibly a pupil council. In the environment, you can host online conversations, you can post questions, get replies and answers, and you can share information. You can also build relationships in a sense of community, especially if you're collaborating with people that aren't in your school. We're going to be looking at how you can set up your team site and customise it for your own needs and requirements. So for example, you can add some tabs along the top of your team site, which gives easy access to some documents, forms, or individual websites. You can also embed documents and sites into your team site and integrate Yammer channels. You can also create channels within your team sites. This is like your folders where you can separate your resources into different areas, keeping it nice and easy to find information that you want. You can also set up online meetings. That's exactly what we're doing today. Within that online meeting, you can share screens, you can have chat conversations, etc. Within the Teams environment, each channel has 1 terabyte of file storage. That's enough storage for all your documents, photographs, videos, etc. This information is then accessible on any device that has an internet connection. You can upload resources you've already created, and you can also upload files, folders of resources. You can create files within the environment, and you can collaborate with colleagues on files as well. When you are uploading files and creating files, you're using the Office web apps. The main benefit with using the Office web apps is there's no save button, because these documents are saved automatically as you're creating. By default, each team site also has a OneNote. So OneNote is like your folder of resources, which all can be divided up into different sections. Within each section, there's different pages. We're not looking at OneNote today, but we do have a webinar coming up this week that will be recorded if you want to find out more about managing a OneNote. Within the team site, we're also going to be looking at the settings, so you can customise your team site. If you are hosting a webinar, it's always good housekeeping to set your status to Do Not Disturb. This stops any notifications coming up. You can also change the theme, so you might prefer a dark theme or a high contrast theme. If you go into your notifications, you can also choose how you want that notifications to be displayed, and you can also opt for email notifications if required. I'm now going to pass over to my colleague Jen Mackay, who is going to go into the live environment to showcase how to set up a team site and how to manage a team site.
Good morning, everyone. So what we're going to do is start from the beginning and create a live team within our Teams app. To do that, we can go up to the top right-hand corner to select Join or Create Team. On some of your devices, you may also find this icon at the bottom left corner, depending on the dimensions of your monitor or the device that you're using. However, normally it can be found at the top right corner. By selecting Join or Create Team, we're given 2 options. Firstly, we can see Create a Team. That's what we're going to go on to in a second. We also have a Join Team with Code button. In here, we can type in a code. So if someone creates a team and adds you to it and sends by email or other notification a code to join with, you simply type the code in here and you will be added. But for this, we're going to create a team. So I simply select the purple icon of create a team, and I'm given these 4 options. Normally, however, we would select one of these 2, class team or professional learning community. A class team, as Susan's mentioned, creates a OneNote. However, it creates a class OneNote. This is useful for assigning homework, pieces of work to individuals within your classroom. A professional learning community allows every member of the class OneNote to share on one OneNote. This also allows them to have a professional learning environment where they can share ideas and collaborate. For this, because we're going to cover how to issue assignments, we are going to issue a class OneNote, which is the only place that assignments can be shared. First of all, give it a name. So we'll give it a really straightforward name. So demo 3. You can give it an optional description. This is usually editable. So if you do want to change the description at any future time, this can be done, but we are just going to give it a little one just to show you that there. You'll also see this statement at the bottom that once you've created a template and you want to replicate the team for any future classes that you might have, so especially if you're perhaps a secondary teacher, you create your initial team for 1 year group, you want to replicate that without having to go through the whole setup process for all other year groups that you might want a team for. Once you've created your first one, you can use this create a team using an existing team template link here. But for this, our title and our description are there, so we're simply going to select next. Because it's a class, I'm given 2 options. One is I can add a student. The other option is to add a teacher. At any time, it's good practice to add another adult member of staff to your team. This ensures that should you be off or have long-term absence or leave for retiral or any other reason, someone else has full control of the team and pupils and learners' work can be accessed. In cases as we are in just now, where we're all working from home, we would always suggest that you add a member of the school leadership team or management into that tab. For this, I'm going to just add my other account so that I can show you what this looks like later on. And I'm also going to choose to add 1 student. This would be done by just adding in my student's name and selecting them. However, to save time, as I said, issuing the code is the fastest way to add people. So whilst you may want to add 1 or 2 people at this point, you can also leave the student section blank and add that learner at a later point. Simply click add and close. Also with teachers, add. Here, you'll also notice that I'm now given, when this adds in, that I have a teacher in my school, and now I can click close. And my team is created. I can personalize it with many aspects, and we'll come on to that in just a second. But one of the things I would like to highlight is this instant access, which remains at the top of this conversation space. This is where you'll upload any class materials that you'll have, as well as really useful help and training information for both you and the learners who are a member of your team. At this side, we have our menu and we have our list here, which shows us the channels which are in our team. Before creating your team, it's always good to think about how you'll use this general channel. For this demonstration, we'll use this as our general conversation space. Our conversation space is a place to chat and to have dialogue with our pupils. So for example, as I've added Susan, I'm going to simply say hello, and I'm going to introduce Susan to the group. So to do that, I would click at, and I would find her name. And you can see it found Susan straight away because she's already a member of the team. So if I click Susan, Susan's given a message. I just move this box. Oops. To send our message, I click the little arrow. And Susan's instantly got back to us to say hello. I'll show you how you can add these gifts in later. I might want to send more detailed information. Along the bottom of my page, I have these tiles. The edit button, the A with the paintbrush, allows me to give a message to the team. I can also use similar tools as you would find in Word and other products along the top. And as with anything in Glow, the 3 dots, the ellipses, gives us options for different tools again. So again, I can insert a table. Perhaps I'm timetabling when people should visit me. Perhaps I want to mark something as high importance. I can give it this red band. And I can undo and repeat, just like I would with Word. So I can send that message again. You can see now it's given prominence. It also says clearly who it's from. And if I want to go in and edit that, I can do that with the 3 dots. Susan's beat me to it. What you can also do is use these simple emojis to really quickly give feedback. So perhaps you just need, a pupil has let you know, I'm going to be running late, or I've handed in my homework. You can simply give them the emoji that you want. If you want to, if you don't want to, I'll show you how to turn these different features off. There's also those 3 dots. By hovering in the corner, as I said, the ellipses are the key to lots of hidden tricks in Glow. So if I click them, you'll also notice that I have this edit button. So if you're hastily typing and perhaps someone comes in and you've not added in the message that you quite want, or you read it back and you want to clarify something, you can use that edit button and you can put in whatever the message you meant to write. It's great for if you have posted something and you need to fix a spelling error. So the 3 dots up there give you lots of other tools. It also gives you Immersive Reader. So again, if I select Immersive Reader, if I have a learner with perhaps accessibility issues or English as a second language, this will allow them to really
Jenny
quickly...
McKay at Monday, April 6th, 2020. 8:49. Important. Welcome. This is our new Glow team.
So for those of you who are new to Immersive Reader, we covered that in our Introduction to Glow webinar. That can also be found on the YouTube channel, but it'll read aloud any page you want. It'll also translate it, and it gives different overlays in the background. A really powerful tool for all learners, but especially those who may have accessibility, maybe are younger learners, maybe there's not an adult available to support them when they're reading a document, and there might be some tricky vocabulary in there. I also mentioned these icons that we're seeing along the bottom. So we've covered the edit button. We also have a straightforward attachment. Works exactly the same as it would if we were adding an attachment to an email. Oops, to help if I can type. I can use the paperclip and it will allow me to find a document. I would simply click the document that I want and then I would add it. I'm going to cover how we would also find other documents later on, so I'll come back to attachments. Again, as we mentioned, we have emojis, we have GIFs. I'm going to show you how to turn them off if you so wish later on, but a GIF is how Susan has responded. So by simply selecting that, I use it just as I would on my phone, saying, type the keyword upon your statement, your GIF to go with your statement. I also have stickers that I can add. Again, if you've maybe got younger learners, you can have a little bit of fun with that if you so wish. We don't have stream enabled, so please ignore this icon at the moment, but we do have a meeting. Provided you're using the correct appropriate web browsers such as Chrome, Safari or Edge, you can host a web meeting with other colleagues. You can also broadcast as we're doing now and share and collaborate with them. You can share information, but pupils cannot be seen on Glow. You can schedule a meeting so that you can work with your colleagues as we've done this morning. So I would simply schedule that, type the title add in who I want to come. So it might be the whole group, it might be just some people. Give it a time, and then I can put in information. So I can say, like, make sure here. If I was then to post that, I think that's going to pull me out. So we'll continue. Send. So I've sent that to Susan. Susan and I both have this link, so we can scroll back through our timeline and we'll see it here. But as you'll see at the left side of my screen, I have this little menu bar and I have a calendar in there. And as you can see, Susan and I are in here recording, but I've also posted that invitation to our video chat, and that's running at the same time. So that gives you a really quick overview of if you are having collegiate meetings whilst we're all working so remotely, perhaps you want to share some information, you can do that using that tool there. So if I go back to my team, I can select Teams and it'll take me back into my team. Okay, so again, I have these 3 dots here. These 3 dots allow me to add some of the apps that Susan mentioned in her introduction. One of the most powerful ones, though, that I find is this Forums button. What I can do is I can issue a really quick poll to my class. So I can say, what is the day today? That's probably not the best way to word that sentence, but I can put, is it Monday? Is it Wednesday? I can add another option. Is it Friday? And I can also allow or disallow multiple answers. So I can quickly issue a survey to my class saying, what would you like to do? What activity are we doing? What is the answer to this problem? Anything I really want. And I can click next. I can it lets me see what everyone will see. It also lets me have the submit button and I can send it. I can also re-edit it if I want. So if I now get rid of that, what you'll see up here is my forum. So Susan, you can see instantly has seen this be issued to her. So she has selected the day of the week, submit vote. It's as simple as that. But also visible for all members of the team are the forms and the responses. So it lets people see live what it is. So again, you know your learners, you know how you might be able to use that, but there's lots of applications. So to find that, as I mentioned earlier, 3 dots again, and that's the forms icon. This forum will also be in my Glow forums. We're going to do some webinars and things on that at a later date, so look out for them. Okay, I can also, if I want to issue praise, I can issue a praise to somebody that's done something well in the team. Edit, attach, gifts and emoji, host a meeting, issue quick polls. Really, really simple. All of these are then sent using the send aeroplane. So that's the conversation space, a really quick, easy way to issue quick information, have dialogue, and if somebody wants to respond, they would simply select reply, and it gives a chain that you can follow, so you can group conversations really straightforward. So you might want to say, this is an easy survey, and Susan might come back with a statement if she wanted to, and it would just show underneath. So again, I can ask a question and then ask for feedback, or I can ask a question and give feedback. Okay, so we've also covered over this. At the side, you'll notice my general channel has gone bold. That's because there's a message that I've not clicked on that Susan sent, which is this one. Anytime someone has posted a message in your team, the channel will go bold. This is a really quick indicator. If you have lots of teams, if I show you my teams at the moment, any team that's gone bold will show you that you have a new message that you haven't checked yet. So that allows you to quickly, at a glance, see where you have to double check and see where you might have new information from your learners or colleagues and where actually you're totally up to speed. And you can see now, because I've gone into my team since I've had those new messages, that bold has disappeared. I can also use these 3 dots beside the title of my team to do a few more things. I can add a channel. For example, I can say science work. So if I was primary and I wanted to issue one for each curricular area, I can put in a description if I want. And I always suggest that you always automatically show this in everyone's channel if you're creating it and you're ready to go. I'll show you how to edit that later, because perhaps you want to work in the background and then issue it. But if you're just creating a channel straight off the bat and you want to promote discussion around it, it's always good to automatically show it in everyone's channel. And then all I do is click add. So now you can see our general space has our conversation from here, and it has our tabs along the top, which I'm going to come to in a second. And I have my new channel, which doesn't have the conversation. It's all about science in this case. So later today, we will learn about the water cycle. So I can post information in there. It also has its own file space, not linked to the one that's in general, and it has its own notes section. So I can personalize each channel down the side to be as specific as I want. One thing to bear in mind is that once an individual is a member of the team, they see all channels. You can't opt for them to see a channel once a channel is published. Everyone sees everything within the team. Okay, so again, up at my title of my team, clicking my 3 dots, I have several other options, but one that we're going to go to that's really important is this Manage Team button. This allows us to do lots of different things. First and foremost, it lets us see who is a member and who is an owner of our team. So again, we can see, if I just move this out of the way, we can see that both of my Glow accounts are owners of the team. That means I have full rights to everything. At any time, I can add an individual by clicking this purple Add Member button. If I have a huge team, and some of the teams that Susan and I belong to have a huge amount of people in them, what we can also do is search for a member just to see if we think that they're there. So if a young person says, I can't see what team it is, you can double check at a glance to save you scrolling through by typing in their name, and it will allow you to find it. And again, you can see I'm only having to put in, obviously there's just Susan and I, but it searches by letter. So again, you're not needing to know their entire Glow name or anything like that. It's really straightforward. Also importantly, I think this is really useful when you are, especially just now when we're working with our pupils remotely, you may have someone who maybe isn't following the Glow rules, which can be found on Glow Connect, about treating, about how we should use it to communicate politely and use netiquette. But we might also have information that we just want to share. We don't necessarily want our young people to put comments back. So I can mute people. Mute people basically are muting our students, basically allows them to see but not comment back. So you have that option, and that can be done one-on-one. It can also, so if I was to change this account to a member, you can see I've now got 2 students, but only one of them is muted. So Susan's been maybe a bit, she's maybe needing me to get in touch and just remind her how she should use Glow, or maybe it's the holidays. For example, just now it's the Easter holidays for most local authorities. So maybe actually I'm going to be taking a wee break. I don't want my young people in there unsupervised, so I'm going to mute everybody. They can still pop in, but there's not going to be any dialogue from them until I unmute them. And again, if I want to change my rules, I can move anybody back. I wouldn't suggest having a pupil as an owner of a team, however, just to be really clear. Okay, so also along here, we have channels. So this again allows me to add a channel, as I did over here. It's just a different routine, and it lets me see who is available for. So again, perhaps I've created my science channel. This time I'm going to create a social studies one, but I don't want it to be seen straight away. I'm going to click add. You can see my channels appeared here. If I went quickly back into here, so I went to my 3 dots, selected manage team and opted for channels, you can see only the owners currently see the social studies channel. And that's because We don't want it to be seen by our pupils until it is ready. I've also got the option in here to delete, to manage my notifications, to manage channel, and also to send a link to a channel. So say that's the one we're going to be focusing on, and maybe want to direct to people who's already a member of a team. I just need you to go into this one channel. Please have a look. I can send them a link. All of those things are also available at this side as well, though. Importantly, we have our settings, and this is where we can change the icon. So again, if you have multiple classes, you might want to give it a different icon. So again, you can see straight away up there. I can also turn on and off. I'm going to go to fun stuff first. So you can see I have the GIFs enabled, but I can disable them. I can remove access to stickers and memes. It's up to you. You decide how you want it to look for your young people. I also, and this is really important, can edit what I want young people to be able to do, or my colleagues to be able to do. So again, if somebody's less confident, a younger class, or maybe it is with learners, you may want to remove the rights for them to delete and restore channels, remove apps and things like that, but keep it with the core options of that they can edit their message and or delete their message, so that they still have some control, because if we gave them a jotter, we would still allow them to have access to a rubber to rub out any mistakes. So being on a digital tool should be no different in that regard. But again, you decide as the owner of the team. Owners should also be able to delete all the messages. And then this is the most fabulous part of Teams, because in here we have something called a team code. So as you saw, I added Susan in. But what I'm going to go do is go back and really quickly, sorry Susan, remove her from my team. So I can do that by just clicking X. So Susan's no longer a member of our team. However, if I go into settings, I can go down to team, and I might say to Susan, okay, Susan, so I have generated a code. I can reset that at any time. It doesn't remove anybody who's logged in with that code, but what it does do is I tend to never choose ones that have lots of L's or O's, because I always think they're quite confusing for young people between, or maybe it's just me though, but between 0 and O, and I also think it's confusing between 1 and L. So for that reason, you can reset it until you get one that you're happy with. You can also, if you have your class in front of you, when we all go back to normal, you might want to create your class, demonstrate this, and on the young people's devices, their phones, their school laptops or iPads, whatever it is, they can enter this code, and that allows them to join. Susan, do you have a note of that?
Yes, I do, Jenny. Thank you.
Okay, that's okay. So Susan's now taken a note of that. You saw that I removed her, but she's back. So we can see Susan has joined with our code. So simple. All that Susan would have done is when we were in Teams, she would have clicked that join the team app link up at the top, typed in that code that I gave her, and she's in. So that took less than a minute to do. So really, really simple. I'll reiterate it again at the end where you would add that code in. Some people have been asking us about analytics of use and how do we know. So you get some basic analytics in here around usage and messages and apps that are being used. So this is where you can see how much it's being used, and it will let you see again just little bits of information. You can have some insights into it from that, but there are other apps available. Okay, so we're going to go back to our general space. You can see it's gone bold, there's something new, and it's Susan telling us that she's back. So along the top, I'm going to give some stuff for Susan to do because she's a member of our team and we want her to be part of it. So again, along the top of our team, I'm just going to make this full size. Along the top of our team, we have these tabs, just like you would on many other sites. The first one is our file space. A file in Teams is simply our OneNote. It is our OneDrive. It's 1 terabyte of storage space where you can upload anything you need to use. Again, if you're using iPads and maybe you're using numbers and pages, you don't have to just have Microsoft products in there. You can upload any file format that you want, and as long as the device that Teams has been accessed on, it will allow you to download that bit of software. So it's a really powerful place. You can see as soon as I created my team, when I was in my general channel, if I scroll back up, I got that little backpack of information. So in files, I have a folder called class materials. What we would probably suggest is that I would add in all the materials I want for that day. And that allows me to capture them in a way. You can just attach them to your comment. However, doing it through the Files tab allows you to categorize them, put them into folders, and have your work organized as you want. So all I would do for that is I can go to plus new up here, select folder, and I can go to the date. I can add in today's date, so April, oops, help if I spell it, April 2020, create. And I have a couple of options. I can click that open, and I can drag and drop if I had this minimized. So I would just take it off my pen drive or take it off my desktop or my shared drive and just drop it into this icon here, and it would upload. Alternatively, I can do upload here, and you'll see that lets me search for things that are on my desktop, but it would also let me search for OneDrive, etc., etc. So I had two things on my desktop. Probably should have put these in science, but that's okay. I've now got, eventually, both of them will upload. So I think everybody's starting to come into Glow a little bit. We'll go back out and come in here. Yeah, there we go. There's our two files for today's assignment. So I know that I've already put in today's work, and I can quickly go back to my posts. So our conversation. So please see the files in class files. And I can send that message. So Susan would know there's work ready for today. She can review it by going into class materials, clicking on this month, and she can have a little look at it. Again, with Glow, those three dots, always so important. It gives you lots of options. You always can download an icon, a file from this download app icon up here, but we have lots of other options available to us through those three dots as well. So again, I can copy it and paste it into another folder. I can pin it to the top. So I might always want the core piece of information for that upcoming lesson to be pinned to the top. So it's already at the top. So if I do it with this one, so pin to the top, you'll see it always appears at the top. So I can review my work as I'm going through and upload it for the next few weeks and say that the lesson will always be there for them at the top of the section. Okay, so files is really, really straightforward. As I say, you can have stuff that's just in your general file space, but by having them in the class materials, it means that we can access them through a range of different ways. I can also create a document within it. So I can go to Word document, add test. So that's the title of my document. And you can see I can create the document eventually. Oops. Glow might be just running a little slow. There we go. So this is for today. We are learning about. And I can just click close. I've typed in my work. We can add in. But if I go into class materials, that document is already there. So I'm not having to find the USB pen, wait for it to upload. All of my work is instantly available for all of my young people. It's really, really powerful. We also have our class notebook section. As Susan says, we're going to run webinars on that. These will also be available on the YouTube channel where you're viewing this from, perhaps. So have a look at that or join us live. That would be great to have you. That can be done through the DigiLearn Scott blog. So we're not going to look at that today, but importantly, we have assignments. So in assignments, I select that tab, and I'll get this backpack saying we've not created anything yet, it's our new team. So I'm going to get started. So it gives me this option for create. I can create a quiz, very similar to how I created one earlier. So if I click quiz, it takes me to my Glow Forums app, and it lets me see anything that I may have previously done. So again, like I say, we're going to run a separate webinar on forums in the upcoming months, but essentially you can create your forum, your assignment out for your class, and you can simply click it and add it. But what we're going to do is create a full assignment. So if I select create an assignment, this is the page that I get. So I give my assignment a title, water cycle. Importantly, especially if you're if you're primary or secondary, you might want to categorize the assignments that you're going out so that you can review how frequently you're perhaps using it for a subject, if you've covered all of the outcomes, or if you're using it to tag in with different skills. You can decide. So I'm going to use the curricular areas, and I'm going to cover this one as science. To make my tag stick, I have to hit return. So now I know, and I'll show you how this works with our grade section. This is a science activity, but it'll let me review it and collate my data later on by tagging it. I then click on instruction, and again, I'm given this really simple word section. This week we are learning about the water cycle. So I'm going to attach an image of the water cycle and a simple grid, which I would like Susan to pop in some images with and some text to show that she fully understands which direction the water cycle flows and the whole process of it. Again, because we're working remotely, one of the other things that I've done and that I would maybe suggest is to have everyone is going to perhaps complete this. If you can complete this, and an extra add-on would be this. So you're kind of layering it. So for anyone who's looking at it, but you can maybe add in, if they've maybe got an adult that would sing, if it was a song lyrics, for example, learn how to do this yourself would be for everybody. Perhaps share this with an adult that's looking after you at the moment, and then if possible as an extra, record yourself, because we also know for equity not everybody has access to tools, so perhaps record yourself doing your hand washing song and pop it back in this assignment, so you can differentiate it that way. So we've put in our assignment. Again, I can use all of these tools. I can make a link to anywhere I want it to go, so I might put a link to the water cycle in there, and I'm going to click add resources. So you'll see it lets me check my OneDrive, so I'm going to go in for my teams. I'm going to find today's team, which is demo 3. And I'm going to really quickly go to class materials, and that's where I put in today's work. So all I'm going to do is click both of those. So I'll do that again. So I typed in my assignment, click add resources, select the team from the side, select the team I want. All my materials, I'd already uploaded them to class materials. They're in April, and I just tick by clicking the left side of the page, and I can attach them. And you can see the line will flow along like it does on an email, depending on how good our Wi-Fi is at the moment. So we now have our water cycle poster and a student to edit their own copy. If I wanted to give a document and I didn't want everybody to be able to edit it, so I do have maybe a resource, but I only want them to view it, if I click the 3 dots on my Word document, I have this. Students now, as soon as they're given this, will edit their own copy of it, but I can turn that off, so they're basically using the Word document to then, they're being asked to write a report perhaps. So I might give them a Word document with some information and guidance on it, but I don't want them to edit it. So I can just click that and it'll tell you what the setting is set at. So again, especially secondaries, you might want to have that on or off. By having students edit their own, they get your master, but when they send it back, it's their own one with their own details on it. Okay. So in here, we also have an option to give points. So I can give this, oops, 1,000 seems excessive. I can give it 100 points. And I can also use a rubric. So if I wanted to do some moderation around what we've been doing, I can add in this rubric here. These are ones I've pre-made. I can make a new one, so new. So to do that, I would put in the title of what it is. Give it a description so my young people know what it is. I know that it's going to be having points, but I can turn that off and you can see they appear down here and the percentage will be evenly distributed between the scores. And I can give them some information for excellent, good, fair, poor. So again, if you've been working with your National Improvement Advisor as your RIP, perhaps you've been doing some in-school moderation, you'll know whether if you're using rubrics, if you want to share rubrics, but I'll show you one that we've already got created. Yes, so we're going to add a rubric here. Water cycle, click next. And here's one that, like all good Blue Peters, here's one I did earlier. So I've got water cycle grid, design and vocabulary is the focus of my rubric. All areas are labelled, there's clear overview, definitions and explanations. So again, young people, when they're issued their assignment, see this and are then able to say, okay, here is what I want it to do. All parts are editable. So again, if you don't like the terminology or as your school, you're perhaps not using this terminology, you can change it to be whatever it is that you want it to be. But once you're happy and you've decided whether you are or are not having points, you simply click attach and it's there. So water cycle rubric is attached. We're not issuing points. We're giving it to our team. So that's the pupils. And again, what I can also do in here is decide which students I'm going to issue it to. Now, we only have one student in our team. So at the moment, all students would be the same as one student. But if I only wanted it to go to, for example, the red group or the blue group or a particular student, I can use this icon and I would just select from the list that appears and it would go to there. But currently, because Susan is our only student, it will say all students. I can also, and this is brilliant, so you might maybe be having childcare issues at home or you're having to look after your own children as well as issue homework, but also if you're back in school when that all happens for us, you might have your reduced class contact time or you might have a free period where you can prepare. So you might want to set up work in advance. So you can issue when you want it to be handed in by, so maybe we want it by Friday, we want it to be by the end of day on Friday, but I can also edit, use this edit button. And what that does is it allows me to schedule the post to go out in the future. So Susan's going to see it just now anyway. But if I wanted to not have, maybe I wasn't seeing Susan till midday, I can click the clock icon and I can choose the time that I want her to have the assignment. So maybe I'm going to see her next period in the day, so it's going to be at 10 o'clock, but actually it's not, it's going to be from now. I can also edit the assignment, and I can choose to allow young people to hand in their work late. So again, we're all having to be really flexible just now, so this is maybe a great tool to have. You ideally want people to finish it by, I don't know, Thursday or Friday, but actually you're going to allow them discreetly, maybe without telling them or with just letting a few of them know that actually on Monday, you understand there's difficult circumstances for them, so it's fine for them to have the extra weekend to do it. But at that time on Monday, it won't allow any submissions. But for everyone, it's seeing this due date. So I can click done and it's there. And essentially, that is how we issue it. I can go to schedule. And now you can see it's assigned. If I go back to my posts, so I don't have any in drafts. So again, I should have probably said that. As you're creating your assignments, you don't have to finish it there and then. So maybe you've got the work attached, but you've not sat and thought about the rubric that you want to do. As soon as you create an assignment, so if I create one here, assignment, we'll just do a test. If I click save, you can see I now have it sitting in drafts ready to go. So as you're going through, using that save button will really save you lots of time. You don't have to be in one place for the whole amount of time until you're ready. When I'm ready, I can go back in, populate it with all the information I need and assign it. So I'm just going to get rid of that one because we don't need it. And it's good, it'll always double check with you that you're happy to get rid of it so that you don't get rid of something you need. Again, we can use this filter tool. This allows us to quickly see as we've been going through, maybe through the year, we've issued lots of assignments. This tag that we used in our assignments allows us to see, let's see the science stuff. Have we covered that yet? Do we need to do it in more depth? Have we not maybe covered a particular area of the experiences and outcomes? And then once Susan has handed in her homework, Susan, do you have your homework yet?
No, I'm sure it was 9:30 it was being sent out.
Oh no, let me go back in and check. So assign, we can go back in and we can update the time. So let's check. So it's been issued at 9, I'm not sure what the time is.
Right.
It was tomorrow at 9, so that's not
okay.
yet. Today, so we'll have to set it for 9:30. So, because that won't let us do it in the, currently. So we'll go to done, and at 9:30, Susan will get that. What that looks like in here, we can also go in, if I click this, update. If I create another one really quickly, when I'm assigning it, and I'm not sure why it's not letting me do it, let's see. It should allow you to see what it looks like from a student view as well. It doesn't appear to do it, and as some of you might be seeing, Teams is under a lot of use at the moment. So industry as well as education are making great use of Teams, which is super. However, it does mean some things might just not appear always as they normally do. But what should appear up here is that we get, if I try and do edit, no, you should be able to view it in pupil view, but we should see that from Susan. Lastly, what we should see in here is this grades button. Now, there's nothing to show you here at the moment, but once our young people have submitted their work, what we might see is a grades book. So I'm going to show you what that looks like just by uploading one that I borrowed from a school that I worked with in the past. So here is what the grades section looks like, just so that while we're waiting, you can see. So there's all the tags allowing me to see lots of different things. If I scroll through, here is the assignment, so you can see it was Modern Studies, and thank you to the Modern Studies teacher who let me see this. So it lets me see the pupil, it then lets me see the assignment date, if it was returned, when it was returned, if there were points attached, what the points that were awarded were, and it allows me to then see a really quick overview. Really importantly, up in this top right corner, we have an export to Excel. So when your school leadership team or you're looking at your results and your data and you're trying to maybe track an individual, use them for predictions for grades, things like that, that export really allows you to look at the data in a much more granular level. So that's a really important tool that's available in grades. And again, this overview, here's our assignments tab, here's all the ones that are upcoming. So this teacher had preset some stuff, and here is all the ones that are there, and it shows with a tick that it's handed in. Also, you might have quite big classes. This section here allows you to see 21 out of 29 have handed it in, 6 out of 29 have handed it in. So you'll see at a glance how many have submitted their work, and also if you have currently reviewed it. So really, really straightforward. Okay, so if we go back into posts, let me just check. Oh, so it's about to be issued to Susan. I'm going to show you whilst we're waiting on 1 minute to pass, we're going to also click this plus tab. The plus tab allows you to have lots of different additional links. So again, I can link to a particular forum. Maybe we're going on a class trip and I need to get some data back from my young people. Perhaps we want to link to a PDF that's a document for reference or for any other purpose. Maybe it's coursework guide that you've created that's a PDF that you want them to refer to. You can make a link. So you would host that, get a share link, and you can pop that into that top section. You can also get a web link. So if we just do Google, because everybody knows Google, we can pop in. Now, the reason it's saying it's not valid is you must make sure that you put down w/. There you go. So there's the web link. I don't need to post to the channel. I'm just going to click plus. And now, whenever my young people, maybe we're doing a research topic, I can put a link to BBC Bite Size, any really beneficial website, and this allows them to work within their team and to go back. So that plus button allows you to add any of these tiles. Really, really useful. So we're back in our conversation space. We can see my assignment has now been issued. It's 9:30. I'm seeing Susan. We've covered water cycle. Susan is then able to see that. I can click view assignment, and this now allows me to see. So we can see that Susan has viewed it. So she hasn't done it, but she's viewed it. So again, if you're looking to see, engage, especially just now when we maybe can't see our young people as much as we normally would, we can check who is accessing this information at a glance. I can also look at student view. So this is what Susan is currently seeing. She's got our instructions. She has our image. She has the work she has to complete. She has the rubric. And if she was to click on any of these, this is how it views. So it's really straightforward, really clear. So she has all of these at her disposal. If she wants to download them, she has those options too. And that applies for the document too. Also, she may just want to work online, so she can click open online and she would complete it, but we're not going to look at it. And again, that immersive reader that reads the page aloud is available for her up here. So if I click that, you'll see my page changes.
Water cycle, category, science, due the 10th of April, 2020, 16 o'clock, closes the 13th of April, 2020, 16 o'clock. Instructions. This week we have been learning about the water cycle. Please review the poster and complete your own version. So again, getting started with Glow webinar video will show you how to use the immersive reader fully, but that is a really important tool, so it means that you've got access. So you can now see we've gone back to our assignments. We can see Susan has now handed in her work. I can have a quick thing saying, I can give her quick feedback. Wow, Susan. That was speedy. So I can give her really quick feedback
but I can then click the item where it said handed in. I can look at it. I can review what the document. So here's my document. This is what I'm quickly reviewing, but if I need it to open it in more depth, maybe I want to annotate onto the actual sheet, I can do that by opening it in online, and I can put in comments. I can also mark it against this, so I can quickly say, okay, so we have some details displayed, so we're probably at fair for this, because given the time that she spent, not all of the information is there and there's no labelling. And then I can also give her 2 stars and a wish. I can align it to the E's and O's. I can link it to my success criteria. I can do whatever kind of feedback in as much detail as I want, and I can click done. And I can return, as soon as I've done all of that, I can click return. And now, if I go into here, you'll see I've nothing left to grade. And in there, I've sent that back to Susan. She knows where she fits on the rubric. She got instant feedback on the document, but she also got a quick comment that indicated it was speedy. So perhaps did she maybe need to think again about it? And it's already there. So if I go back to my assignments, I now can see I've no assignments assigned, but here it is there, and it's graded. And if I go to my grade section, I now have Susan, who has returned 1 document, and it's up there. And I can open that piece of work if I want. So going back to posts, that's there, and I can just give her a little message saying, well done, everyone. Oops. And post it. So that is Teams in a little nutshell. I'm just going to go back, and I am going to stop presenting and hand you back to Susan.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, so that was a brilliant live demo. We saw how to create a team site, the different kind of options, and how to manage a team site. Thank you so much, Jenny. So basically, your team site is a digital one-stop shop for conversations. So Jenny gave you an overview of how you could use the conversation area by adding a question or a comment, how you can reply to that, how you can add an attachment, a GIF, an emoji, and how you can also start a video chat from there as well. Jenny then went over how you could host online meetings. Again, that could be started from the conversation area, or you could go into the calendar tab on your left-hand navigation. Remember, you can have face-to-face online meetings with staff, but you can only hear the voices of students. We then saw how you could upload your documents and how you can collaborate on documents, all within the Files section. We saw how you could share content, how you can share content with your students by uploading to the class materials folder. You can also create your own documents within there to share with your students, and how you can share content by creating an assignment and distributing that assignment to the whole class or choosing individual students. We saw how you could organise content, certainly within the files where you can have your own folders, and so it's all neatly organised. Jenny also demonstrated how you could create channels down your left-hand navigation, again how you can organise content simply and easily. We did see the GIFs and emojis. Now, a lot of schools have been creating a channel called the Learners Channel. So lots of pupils like to experiment with GIFs and emojis. If it is a distraction in your main area where you're dishing out your work, you might want to create a Learners Channel. That way the pupils have got ownership, they can play with the emojis and the GIFs, but it's all within that channel, so it's not disrupting anything that you're adding to the other channels. We saw how it's accessible, how simply by clicking on the files you can access all your resources, and how your assignments are all pushed out to your area within your assignments backpack on the left-hand navigation. It's also accessible because, as Jenny demonstrated, there's a built-in immersive reader which strips back your page to prevent visual crowding, and you can have that text and information read back to you. We saw how it was searchable. Along the top of Teams is a search box that searches all your folders, all your documents and all your teams. It's an evergreen environment, so it is always up to date and changing. For additional help and support, now when you log on to Glow, you know you have your 4 launch pads down your left-hand navigation. If you select the one with the flag, that's the national launch pad. There's Glow Help, which is the first tab. The one next to it is Glow Connect, and that's a blog managed by the Glow team, the Education Scotland. So for all your up-to-date information about the Glow environment, for any links to resources and help guides, you will find it in Glow Connect. Now that students are using online tools more frequently, it'll be a very good idea to share this report of concern button. If the pupils are within the Glow environment and they see something that upsets them, then they can click on Report a Concern. That will then be sent to the local authority Glow Key contact to deal with quickly and efficiently. So it's always good housekeeping that your pupils know where to find that Report a Concern button. The next one is the Glow Professional Learning Communities. Now this is your national one-stop shop for information, high-level documentation from Education Scotland for across all the curricular areas. This space has recently been revamped, so we're using new SharePoint, so it's always worth having a look in there to find information from each of the curricular areas. The next one here is the Microsoft Educator Community. No longer are local authorities having to create lots of help guides and documentation and video tutorials. Because we are working in an evergreen environment, the tools are changing all the time. We always direct people to go to the Microsoft Educator Community to find the latest information regarding that application. So for example, if you wanted to find out more about OneDrive or OneNote or Microsoft Teams, then if you created your account, then you can access courses and webinars. When you complete a course, it could be just a short course, it takes half an hour, you will then get a digital certificate and a digital badge. So for your own professional development, it's a one-stop shop for Microsoft tools. When you click on the tile, you're asked to create a profile. Now your profile can be public or private. If you allow your profile to be public, that means you can collaborate with educators all over the globe. For example, you may want to participate in a Skype in the Classroom session where you invite another school into your classroom via Skype. Again, all that information was in the community. If you want to find out more about the Google tools within Glow, then this is an excellent place where again you can participate in webinars and you can watch video tutorials. When you log on to Glow at home, you also have the option to download Microsoft Office 2016 for free. You simply log into Glow, select the National Launchpad, click on this tile, and you can download the tools. That means if you're working offline and you're logged in via this tile, then all the work that you're doing offline will be synced up to Glow, which again is accessible anywhere you have an internet connection. This is a screenshot of Glow Connect, and you can see there is a dedicated page just for Microsoft Teams with lots of useful links. When you log into the Microsoft Educator Community, this is just a small snapshot of some of the courses that you can participate in. I've pulled a few of the courses together in this one slide here that will be useful if you want to find out more about Microsoft Teams. I've also created 2 links for YouTube, and this one is a Microsoft Teams playlist which gives you very short bite-sized tutorials for all the tools within Teams. If you want to find out more about rubric grading, we have a link there that takes you into YouTube as well. If there's one top tip we'd like to leave you with today, is if you're ever faced with this Microsoft login screen, it's always looking for your Glow email address, which is simply your Glow username at glow.gov.uk. If you're in a school, it will be glow.sch.uk. If you're non-school based but in a local authority, it will be glowmail.org.uk. But you can check this by clicking on your profile within RM Unify Launchpad. Thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you've learned something. If there's anything else that you want to find out about, then we have our Teams site for educators across Scotland. So our Teams site, which you are already a member of, I just click back to my Teams, is this one here, Education Scotland Digital Team. So you can post any questions in here and we will get back to you. You will also see a link to DigiLearn Scott community along the top. This is where you can keep up to date with any new webinars that will be posted. You simply click on webinars along the top here and they will be listed underneath. And this is where you'll find all the webinar videos for all the other ones that have already happened. If you click on the next one along here, this is a new page as well for supporting online learning for practitioners. And you can see it's divided into all the curricular areas. So it's always worth having a little look in there to find out what you can use with remote learning. We've also got a link to Glow Connect along the top. And if you click the drop-down menu, we've also got a link to the YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much for joining us today.